Some good signs in the polling, at least for those of us who are hoping that President Trump does get 4 more years. What are these dynamics as they are playing out, especially when it comes to the Hispanic community? We've got Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump campaign, Mark Lotter, with us now. Mark, thanks for making the time. I know you're busy.
Oh, thanks for having me, Buck.
So what are we seeing here with the surge in Hispanic support for Trump? Where is it? How much of there is it? And why do you think it's happening?
Well, and there's been some recent public polling that shows that Joe Biden is significantly underperforming even Hillary Clinton in Florida among Hispanic and Latino voters. Of course, that's a state that Donald Trump won in 2016. So if he's doing worse in that very key demographic, I think it's one of the reasons why you saw him scramble to send Kamala Harris down there last week. He's heading there later this week, and they're even trying to tap Michael Bloomberg to see if he can go buy an election for them down in the state of Florida. But it doesn't really matter how much money they have to spend when you have Joe Biden's really bad message. It's not going to work.
$100 million is what I saw that Bloomberg's willing to spend just in the state of Florida. Of course, we're not going to hear Democrats complain about big money in politics when it comes to that, right? But $100 million in the state of Florida, which is going to be the biggest spend, I think, without the desired result, since Jeb Bush spent about $100 million to get, what was it, a few delegates? Didn't go so well.
Right, and Michael Bloomberg proved it himself. He spent $1 billion and didn't get anything out of it in the primary process. It just shows you can't buy an election if your message is so bad and horribly flawed. And when you look at Joe Biden's plans for $4 trillion in new taxes and the Green Raw Deal, or his history of being soft on Cuba, soft on the dictatorship in Venezuela, it's not going to resonate. No matter how much money Michael Bloomberg wants to waste, he's still not going to make any inroads in Florida.
What can you tell us about, we're speaking to Mark Lotter, Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump campaign. Mark, what can you tell us about whatever you've seen? Because here's the theory, and I think it's a pretty sound one, that the reason there's been a change in tone, even before the horrific shooting of 2 Los Angeles County sheriff's deputies over the weekend, but there was a change in the last week or two, I'd say, from some Democrats about just how extremely supportive of BLM they're willing to be. And people have said this is because the public polling has turned against them. What can you tell us about how this issue, from just a political strategy perspective, is now a liability? It seems like it's just become a liability for Democrats in swing states, not in New York and California.
Well, it really is we've seen a huge shift in the polls, and I think it's a lot to do with the violence, the arson, the rioting, looting, shootings, and homicides that we've seen in so many Democrat-run cities and states, and the Democrats' failure for months to even condemn it and come out opposed to it. I mean, Joe Biden called police the enemy. Kamala Harris compared them to the Klan. And as I travel around the country, I hear the exact opposite. And I hear so many people who even say, look, they've had a history of maybe being down the middle and voting Democrat in the past. And they just shake their heads when they see those kinds of things, because they know that the men and women who put on the uniform and that badge and go out every day to respond to your 911 emergency, they're the best of us. And we need more police, not less police. And so we've seen this happening in the battleground states, but we've also seen it happen in non-traditionally Republican or not traditionally Republican constituencies. It's really having an impact on Joe Biden in the black community, in the suburbs, which he's counting on, because they don't want to see a soft on crime, pro-protester movement, which is really what the Democrats have become.
Mark, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida seem like the big 3. There are other critical states I know you and the campaign are going to be putting a lot of effort and energy into. But tell me specifically about what the strategy is to get those wins racked up. We just talked about Florida, but what are we doing in Pennsylvania? My good friend Sean Parnell's running in a tight congressional race out there. He's talking about the dynamics at play, and Ohio. It feels like if Trump wins those 2 plus Florida, we're good to go.
Well, so in Pennsylvania, it's definitely a message about the economy, especially in Western Pennsylvania. In fact, I was with the vice president last week and Sean Parnell at an event last week in that district. And it's amazing when you talk about, Joe Biden and his open embrace of ending fracking, being against fracking. And then he has to come out and try to distance himself from it. Because he, again, sees the numbers are starting to trend away from him. And as we look at across the country, we see it's not just about fracking, it's about energy independence. And you can look no further than the mayor of Los Angeles a few weeks ago telling people to turn up their air conditioning to 78, turn off their lights and TVs at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because there's going to be blackouts. That is a preview of what Joe Biden's America is going to be. And then you go to places like Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, and other states where fracking is really big. Now we're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs that are going to be eliminated. And for a campaign that's hoping to make strides from Joe Biden's standpoint, telling 100,000 people they're going to be out of jobs in Pennsylvania and Texas and Eastern Ohio and other places, that's not going to be a winning message.
Are you seeing undersampling in some of the public national polls, undersampling of Republicans? Is that I see a lot of people in conservative media that point to this as a concern. Because, I'm just wondering, is that something that you all would agree with, that some of the polling looks to be skewed a little bit, or do you just worry about your internal polling and keep fighting the fight you're in?
Well, I mean, obviously we keep a better tab on our internal numbers because we were right in 2016. They were wrong, and we think they're wrong again. But it is true that there is a massive underreporting going on in many of these national polls. I don't think they learned the lessons from 2016 about how to identify what the electorate is going to look like. And to make matters worse, when you undersample Republicans, and there's no question that Republicans are the more energetic voters for their candidate than Democrats are for Joe Biden, you're just magnifying that impact. So you're underreporting the people who are most likely to come out and vote for their candidate. I mean, I've said it in the past, these pollsters that are doing this are either incompetent or they're corrupt because they either can't figure out their mistakes or they're intentionally trying to create a narrative to depress Republican voters to make them think that the race is lost when it absolutely is not lost. In fact, I would say, we are ahead of where we needed to be, and we're ahead of where we were in 16, and we're ahead where we need to be to get to 270.
If you had to pick, I was asked over the weekend, if there's one state that was blue the last time that you think could realistically go red this time, and maybe you can give me a 2 or 3. But, so I'm not asking for, because obviously if you win what you won last time, congratulations, 4 more years, right? But if we're going to run up the scoreboard a little bit, what state would you think right now that had been just narrowly blue in 2016 that this time around we could flip?
Well, I think there's 3 top candidates there. Minnesota, absolutely. We've seen it. The president only lost it by 1.5 points in 2016. And even just a few weeks ago, you saw a number of former Democrat mayors in what's called the Iron Range in Minnesota come out and say they're supporting President Trump because he supports the workers in their communities. And so I think that one's a top target. I would believe that New Hampshire would be a target. It's only about 2,600 votes that the president lost that in 2016. And then Nevada as well, because you'll see the president, obviously he's in Nevada right now. But one of the big differences in Nevada is obviously they are so economically driven. And when you have a platform like Joe Biden's to raise taxes by $4 trillion, that's $4 trillion people don't have to spend at the resorts and casinos and amenities in Las Vegas and in Reno. But it's also huge because companies aren't going to have that money that they can spend at conferences and conventions, which are really a driving force in Nevada and in Florida's tourism-based industries.
And the violence that you're seeing in cities across the country, the surge in violence, the anarchy in the streets, the Biden campaign doesn't seem like it has a clear message about this. What is the Trump campaign? How does the Trump campaign describe the Biden choice here?
They're between a rock and a hard place of their own making. When they decided to align themselves with the radicals of the Democrat Party, the BLM, and the folks who are out there rioting, arson, looting, well, they put themselves at odds with the police, with the majority of Americans, and they stayed there for months on end. And it should really tell a lot of folks something when you have the largest police organizations in our country, whether it's the National Fraternal Order of Police, NYPD, Chicago Police, Texas Police Associations, Southern police organizations. They are all coming out in support of this president because they know he's standing with them. And that what we can do more than one thing at a time. We can root out injustice. We can improve training where it needs to be improved. But it doesn't mean we defund the police and or turn our attention against the men and women in blue. we got to stand with them and help them. And defend them, not defund them. I think it puts them in a bad position, especially in places like Minnesota, like Wisconsin, who have seen this violence up close. And I think it will reverberate across many other communities.
Speaking to Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump campaign, Mark Lauder. Mark, I'm watching this whole issue of the Democrats preparing to not concede, planning to not concede very closely. I think it would be foolish to ignore that some of the biggest voices in the Democrat Party have been saying openly. I mean, this isn't some conspiracy theory that people are reading about in the comment section of a website somewhere. This seems like there's a real movement underway. You know, top writers on the left, people with big platforms, Hillary Clinton herself. How is the campaign viewing this and preparing for what could quickly go from a victory at the polls to a battlefield in the courts?
Well, we're ready to fight that battle, and we are already fighting it in every state where we see Democrats trying to exceed the letter of the law and change to these very dangerous, unsecured voting by mail mechanisms, which are ripe for fraud and abuse. And we'll continue to have that fight. But also in a way, I would tell you that it's actually energizing the Republican base, because we need to know, and everyone out there needs to know, that the best way we can guarantee that the Democrats won't cheat and steal this election away from the president is to have such a huge margin of victory they can't cheat and steal this away from the president. And so I think in a way it's bringing a lot more people to the polls. It's making sure that everyone out there is talking to all their friends and neighbors and making sure they get to the polls, because that's the only way we're going to be able to stop it if that's what they choose to do.
From the Trump campaign, Mark Lauder. Mark, good luck, good work, and please come back soon.
Thanks. Talk to you soon, Buck.
Look, here it is. All of this is asked and answered, Jake. Look, here's the thing.
He was not honest with the American people. You're not answering the question.
You're not honest with the American people. CNN is not honest with the American people. CNN. You want to go there? I mean,
I said you're not answering the question. Here's the thing. Thank you, Peter Navarro. We just played tape. You didn't answer the question.
No, you can't say that.
You didn't answer the question. No, you didn't.
Repeatedly, Jake. You just didn't like the
Peter
answer.
Navarro, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And I would just like to remind the American people watching that the United States has less than 5% of the world's population, and the United States has more than 20% of the world's coronavirus deaths.
I just want to remind America that I am a fake journalist who pretends to be objective and does the bidding of the DNC.
There's that too. How about this, Jake? There are big parts of the world where there have been basically no COVID cases reported, and we don't even know why. Sub-Saharan Africa, very little COVID. Why is that? We don't know. Nobody really has a good explanation for it. Do you know that if you were to adjust for population, Spain now has about 30,000 deaths and is having big spikes, daily spikes in cases, but they have masks. Oh, it didn't change anything, did it? If you adjust for population, the U.S. is about 6 times the size of Spain. A little more than that. Guess what 6 times 30 is? 180. Guess how many deaths we have in the U.S. from COVID? About 190, 200,000 right now. And we have a much less healthy, I'm just going to say it, America's number one in so many great ways, but we have a very unhealthy population when it comes to hypertension, obesity, and a bunch of these ailments that are the worst possible thing to add into the mix when you get COVID. So we are basically right along where we did better than Italy. We're right along with Spain, better than the UK. But why do we have, we have 20% of the COVID deaths or whatever it is. For cases is meaningless. They can keep talking about this all day, but they've also stopped because cases are going way down now, going way down. Cases is meaningless. A lot of countries didn't test as much while they were going through their outbreak and started testing really. There's a cycle that this goes through. All the data shows you this. This thing jumps. Now, not every jump is the same because of a population susceptibility to it, pre-existing immunity to it, population density, but it gets into a community and there's about an 8-week up and then down that it goes through. Or you can believe that New York City is so much smarter and more responsible than all these other places in the country that had their spikes in the summer But that's a lie, and that would be a stupid thing to think, but people do want to think that. And, of course, New York's version of dealing with the virus was herd immunity by accident with the maximum exposure to the highest risk people up front, and then the most draconian lockdowns possible afterward. We did everything wrong in New York. Everything we did in New York with this virus, now that we can actually look at it and look at the data, look at the timelines, it's as though we were trying to do the worst possible job here. Other states, Florida, Texas, much better outcomes than we had with this. But the media can't accept that. They want to just keep saying that Trump is the worst, Trump caused the virus, Trump is awful, and it's all Trump's fault. And to do that, they have to suppress data that's right in front of their faces. I also got to tell you, this guy, Fauci, is really annoying. Doesn't have anything worthwhile to say ever. Remember when we were all told, oh, wash your hands? That's going to say, do you even hear about hand washing anymore, really? Oh, because it's an aerosolized virus. But we were told to if you don't wash your hands, people were washing their hands until they were red and raw to save themselves from the virus. That was the public health guidance. And it was don't wear a mask, and then it was maybe wear a mask, and now it's you better wear a mask, and now it's wear a mask outside. I mean, all the stuff we've been through. The public health policy community has been a catastrophic failure during this whole thing. Nothing to add, not helpful. Oh, we need all the ventilators. Just kidding. No, we don't. Oh, we need all the extra hospital capacity. Just kidding. No, we don't. Wear masks. Oh, we said don't wear masks before? Yeah, now if you don't listen to us, you're an idiot. Here's what Fauci says. Play 11.
That response on my part was in response to a question that someone asked, when can we actually get back to normal as we know it? Normal including with impunity going into a movie theater, which is indoors and enclosed. And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of 2021.
Another year of this. This abject fool doesn't look at anything that's actually happening with the data, doesn't look at the trends. Another year of this. Just now we've gone to lockdown beyond vaccine, not even lockdown to vaccine, which they admitted was crazy. Now it's lockdown beyond vaccine. These people are morons. They should not be listened to anymore. I'm just going to say it. On policy, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
It's time for roll call.
Roll call time, everybody. Indeed. Let's get to it. Facebook.com/Buck Sexton. Team Buck at iHeartMedia.com if you want to send us an email. And remember, if you're not already, please follow me on Instagram. Follow me for the political hot takes or the Tallulah photos. So, actually, this week, it looks like I might have Tallulah, my parents' French Bulldog, and Percy, my brother's Pomeranian. I'm on double doggy duty this week. Bruce and Mark, get ready for all those photos. It's going to be fun. It's like I'm running a kennel over here.
Yeah. Do you even have enough room in your apartment for 2 dogs?
No, but I mean, what could be more fun than snuggling with 2 dogs on the couch while I watch?
Oh, I agree with you. Whenever I get a house, I'm going to have more than 1 dog.
Right.
No doubt.
I'm just saying. No, but it's very snug in here. But they're tiny. The Pomeranian is like fits in your palm. I mean, it's named for Pomerania, which is in northern Europe, the province of Pomerania. But I think it's in Germany, right? But is it in Germany or is it? Yeah, I think it's in Germany. But they're very small. They're very feisty little dogs, though. They look like little tiny baby wolves. That's the toughest thing that I could say about them.
Yeah, they're very fluffy looking.
They're very fluffy looking, yes. But they're very sweet. They're a lot of fun. So I'm going to have double dog duty this week. And you know what I did over the weekend, Producer Mark? Snow Princess got me in gear for it. I went to the gym.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was a little bit like if you did a montage of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man trying to do like a marathon and lift some weights and all this at the same time. It was just like, oh, my belly hurts. It was not.
You basically described every time I've gone to the gym in my life.
I mean, I've been gymless for 7 months, and I couldn't. I tried to do the guy that would do the push-ups but it felt too much like being in a prison. I just couldn't do it. And I got to tell you, the gym, it was great to be back in the gym. Technically, I was supposed to be wearing a face mask. Can neither confirm nor deny whether when the gym is empty and I'm in there, I still wear a face mask because it's so stupid. It's an empty room. I don't understand what I'm doing in there. Anyway, but I was walking. I was like, my back hurts. My shoulders hurt. It all hurt. It all hurted. It all hurt all of a sudden.
It always hurts the first time, but, once you get in the rhythm, it'll stop hurting.
Oh, man, my booty is sore.
What did you do, squats?
Yeah.
You don't never start with squats.
But it was like lightweight, though. But, feels good. But hopefully, give me till Christmas time. I might be able to fit into my old suits, which would be really nice. That would be really helpful.
If you ever have an event that you need a suit again.
Yeah, I think that men's fashion has forever changed now. I think that people are going to say suits. I've been saying this. I've been saying this a lot. Suits are not comfortable. I don't care if it's tailor-made for you. They're just not that comfortable. Nobody wants to wear a dress shirt with a jacket on top of it and a tie around their neck. It's not comfortable. So, just putting that out there.
I agree. It's awful.
I've said goodbye to the tie. And I have a great tie collection. I used to collect those things. I spent way too much money on ties. But I've said goodbye to the tie. And it's never coming back. And also, uncomfortable dress shoes. As you know, comfortable feet, the secret to a successful life. So, now...
Sounds like a new self-help book coming from Buck Sexton soon.
It might have to happen. Cuts. No, that's not what we want. We want roll call. Where did that go? I forgot. There we go. Here we go. Roll call. Thank you, everybody, as always, for writing in with roll call. We do appreciate it. One of my favorite parts of the show. Okay, Jay. Wait, I also have... before I get into roll call, I got distracted again. I watched, binge watch with the Snow Princess, Cobra Kai over the weekend. It's awesome. And I didn't think it would be good, and it's actually really good. Have you seen this?
I don't even know what it is.
It's on Netflix. It's kind of not a sequel. It's like a 20 or 30 years later follow-up to the Karate Kid series with the original Karate Kid main actors. And it's like now they're adults, and it's great. It's really good, actually. I thought it would be cheesy and ridiculous. It turned out pretty well.
I might have to watch that.
You, producer Mark, you would actually like this.
You've said that about a lot of things, though.
What have I told you would like?
That's true. I never get around to watching anything that you tell me.
Wow.
I don't get around to watching things that I want to watch.
On air, no less. Getting
to be
slapped
fair.
down. Yeah. Well, anyway, I would put, for my recs for you, I would put Cobra Kai at the top of your list, and I think Mrs. Mark would like it too.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And 30-minute episodes, man, and it's on Netflix. It's free. How can you go wrong here?
She doesn't like watching anything else other than the show we're currently watching. That's the problem.
What are you watching right now?
We're rewatching Grey's Anatomy.
Ah, dude.
I know.
Producer Mark, it's like you're drinking a big bucket of estrogen every night.
But she's only here on weekends, so I get to do what I want during the week.
That's nice.
At least.
Yeah. We got to get you to start playing Call of Duty so that you, me, and Jesse Kelly can all play on the same Call of Duty team.
I consider it. I have the PlayStation Online.
Dude, you should get it. I'm telling you, it's great. All right. A roll call. Sorry, everybody. Jay. Buck, a while back, a listener wrote in and suggested Trump do airport hangar rallies. Cheap, convenient, no need to coordinate caravans to and from the airport. Just land, get out, speak, climb back aboard. I guess Trump was listening that day because now he's doing just that, and it's awesome. I'm glad that Trump actually listens to real experts. I remember for years thinking, man, if I was ever president, I'd listen to Rush every day. I didn't know about you at that time, but now I'd easily add you to the list. Finally, we have an everyman in the White House. Yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's like a down-to-earth guy who just happened to become a success but didn't let the glory get to his head. Keep up the work. Shields high. Well, Jay, thank you so much. And I agree that we got a down-to-earth guy with this president who really he does have, I guess, what you'd call the common touch. He does have an ability to relate to people. It's one thing that Democrat politicians like Hillary Clinton, for example, do not have at all. So, yeah, I agree. Chris writes, hey there, Buck and Mark. I've been a long-time listener out of California, Union Iron Worker Local 433. Recently moved to Idaho, which so far, in my opinion, is the best thing I've ever done aside from marrying my wonderful wife and having my 2 beautiful daughters. I pass the buck as much as I possibly can, and have even had the pleasure of hearing you read roll call from people I've passed the buck to. Well, that's awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. I've listened to a lot of different conservative-based podcasts, and I have to say the Buck Sexton show is by far the greatest. Producer Mark, can we like adopt Chris or something? And he's a full-grown man.
We need to like use this for promos or something.
Can we like make him a honorary like Freedom Hut? I don't know. Everyone listens to the Freedom. We got to think of like some cool thing we could call people anyway.
Every one of our listeners is an honorary member of the Freedom Hut.
No, they're all in the Freedom Hut, but we got to like the Freedom Hut, Grand Council or something.
Fan club?
You know what I mean? No, not fan club. Something like like they're cool. You know what
Hall
I'm saying?
Hall of Fame?
Like, I don't know. Something awesome. I don't know. SEAL Team Freedom Hut. Something like that. Something that's like, yeah. All right, anyway, we'll do the branding another day. I just want to comment on Mark's assessment of the Kansas City-Houston Thursday night opener, and I 100% agree that the crowd booing their moment of solidarity was in poor taste, but I do disagree in his stance about Houston staying in the locker room during the national anthem. I truly believe that our nation's flag, as well as the national anthem, should be something to be respected by every proud American across the country, and to see an individual such as J.J. Watt, whom I've always had great respect for in all of his charities and previous patriotism, was just very saddening. I did lose a lot of respect for him. Anyways, I love and respect the work you do, so please continue, and I'll obviously hold my shield high. Well, Chris, that was a great roll call, man. Thank you so much for writing in. And look, I don't want to sit here and spend my time trashing professional athletes. I think that what they've been able to do is obviously remarkable. They're very well compensated for it. They lead incredibly, rarefied and special lives, and they've earned it. I mean, they work very hard. Look, I just like to point out, though, that a lot of these guys, the difference between most Division III college athletes and most professional athletes, people won't often say this, but just a lot of it's just God-given talent. I know plenty of people that were, or even a D1 athlete and a pro. It's not they're not working really hard in the gym. It's just some people have more God-given gifts than others in these sports, in these areas. LeBron James was, how old was he when he went pro, Mark? 17? 18? 18? Yeah. LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think he was 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah, he was in high school.
Yeah. So I'm not taking anything away from the man in terms of his ability. Obviously, he's probably the best living basketball player and probably top 5, maybe top 3 all time. I still think MJ is the greatest of all time, but he was gifted. It's a gift from God. It's amazing what this guy had, this ability to play the sport at that level at such a young age. And I just think that there's a lack of gratitude and a lack of, they always talk so much on the left about it being inclusive. Why aren't these NFL players? It feels like they're extending a middle finger to the part of the country that doesn't see BLM the same way they do, instead of saying, hey, guys, we want to bring everybody in. We're all in this together. We all want justice. It feels divisive. It feels oppositional. So I wish that wasn't the case, because, I think the first professional athlete who has real standing in his sport, who stands up and says, we really need to focus on unity and safe communities and intact families and promoting, hard work and good citizenship. And, that there would be such an outpouring of support for this. Doesn't even have, some people say, oh, what about, who was the guy who did the special pose, Tim Tebow, right?
Oh, yeah, Tebowing.
Yeah, but Tebowing, that's what I was thinking. Not kneeling. Tebow. Well, I guess a Tebow is kind of a kneel, but a different kind of kneel.
Yeah.
He's he seemed like a really good, wholesome guy, but because he was viewed as very Christian, therefore he was very right-wing, and there was this whole backlash against him.
I just think he sucked. That's why I hated him.
Didn't he win some big games? Wasn't there?
He won some. He was a college quarterback. He had no. I have the same arm as Tim Tebow. Then he tried to play baseball in some sort of farce. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
I have no problem with Tim Tebow, the person. I think he's a very good, charitable person, good human. I just think he's a terrible athlete.
But didn't he win a whole bunch of NFL games that were big?
Yeah, he had one season where he had a miracle run kind of thing, but he didn't, and then every team he went to after that, he was terrible. He's bad. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry for the Tim Tebow lovers. I'm saying he's a good person. I think he's not a good football player and definitely a terrible baseball player.
Direct all your hate messages to producer Mark.
We got plenty of those this weekend, Buck. Come on.
TJ. Buck, I was thinking of some good ways for the government to incentivize people to get the vaccine when available. I realize it'll be a highly polarized vaccine, and even I, an ardent Trump supporter, am a little leery about wanting to get it, right away at least. However, I realize that eventually it'll be an important factor for us to get back to normal, and normal is also in the best interest of the federal government. But for the federal government to require Americans to be vaccinated, I think might be a step too far, especially in our current political climate, regardless of who wins the election. In compromise, maybe the federal government could offer 2 to 5 year tax breaks for families willing to get the vaccine when it becomes widely available. Really, I'm just trying to think of ways that would convince me that the vaccine is worth it, and that would be one way for sure. Thoughts? Tax breaks for families willing to get the vaccine, huh? Well, look, TJ, I appreciate where you're coming from on this one. I just think we got to see what the data. We got to Fauci this one. We got to see what the data is. No, but really, we got to see if they think the vaccine is highly effective and highly safe. Team, I'll just tell you this. I'll probably get it just because I want to be able to be around my parents without and other senior aged people without putting them at any undue risk of contracting. If it were just me, I would not get vaccinated at all. I'm not worried about this thing. But I'll see when it comes out. I'll tell you. I always tell you guys the truth. I'll tell you if I end up saying, okay, I'm going to get this vaccine. But I want to read about it, see what it is, see what the studies say. More roll call. Todd, Buck, I nearly spit out my drink when I heard the soundbite you played of Cocaine Mitch throwing down the gauntlet. He is definitely the man. Honestly, is there another Republican who can talk smack the way he does? He just let it all hang out without fear of repudiation or condemnation when he declared, quote, at this point, it is just silly season on the Democrat side. I've replayed that line about a half a dozen times now. I don't mean to laugh, honestly, but I can't help myself. I respect Mr. McConnell. At least he said something. Shield time, my friend. Well, Todd, we got somebody who's ready to go to bat for Mitch McConnell in this audience. Look, Cocaine Mitch, he's establishment, but sometimes he is a mean, lean judge confirmation machine. And no matter what you think of Mitch on trade, on immigration, on judges, this guy is getting it done. And that matters. It's important. And he makes no apologies for it to the Democrats who are always trying to slow the whole thing down. Adam, hey, Buck and Mark, regarding your comment today about how the NYPD should not be enforcing mask orders, I can tell you there are many of my fellow officers here in California on the same page. We've had a few coworkers get the China virus and agree that this has been blown way out of proportion. All we want is people to take a chill pill and let people live their lives and take risk management into their own hands. God bless, Adam. Absolutely. I've been regularly tuning in or listening to podcasts on my way home after shift since you took over the America Now slot here in Monterey for the last few years. Shields high and stay safe from the West Coast. Well, Adam, thanks so much, man. Yeah, no, now there is no America Now. That is long buried and gone. It is the Buck Sexton show. So that's what happened when the Buckster took over. And I'm so glad you've been here for that. And thank you for listening. And great to have members of our highly valued, respected, appreciated law enforcement community across the country listening into this show. All right, we are on team law enforcement here as much as anybody could ever be. Barbara, hey, love you, Buck, but don't disparage Schenectady. Some of us live here. Would never vote for Biden. Did I make fun of Schenectady?
Apparently.
Oh, I think I said that Biden was like being in Delaware was like being the mayor of Schenectady. I didn't disparage Schenectady. I was just picking a random, relatively small city. I think that's what happened because I don't even know enough about Schenectady to make fun of it, and I love Team Buck Schenectady. So,
well, now you've made Team Buck Schenectady very angry.
Well, now I apologize and extended a hand in continued Freedom Hut friendship because I love them.
I think this lady is now Team Producer Mark.
Fair enough. Everybody pass the buck. Make sure someone new listens to the show this week. It's on Spotify, the iHeart app, and Apple Podcasts. Until tomorrow, shields high.